Sitting here, it dawned on me that the names of your bands all involve some kind of a dangerous substance, and
Gee.
and
Well, we are under that. We all are under that hard rock umbrella. So
They're on to us.
I was wondering how important you think the name of your band was to the success of the band, and how did you guys come up with that name?
Well, I don't want to do this one. Scott, you want to go? You're doing great.
ours was easy. Myself and the original bass player Danny went to high school together, and he learned about it like in biology class in like 1980 or something. And this is way before anyone was throwing anthrax at each other to kill each other. Nobody even knew what it was back then. And somehow he learned about it, and we just thought it sounded like a great name for a metal band because most people thought we made it up for years and years. And the reason I think we really gravitated to it was because in our neighborhood, everyone had a band that ended in ER. You had Killer and Ripper and Deceiver and Seducer and like all these ER bands, and we didn't want to be an ER band, so Anthrax stood out in the neighborhood.
And I will say that I think it's a kick-ass metal name still.
Still is.
Anthrax.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, man.
Great name.
And look at all the press we got back in 2001.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, everybody, we're gonna wrap this up because we got dinner in about 10 minutes or 7 minutes, something like that. But we'll do one more round. Questions? Can we do that? Anybody got a question?
Yep, right in the
Well,
back
get
there.
on up here. What are you doing back there?
They don't bite. At least I don't
Come on over
think.
here. They want to see you too. No.
Okay. Sully, I was wondering what inspired you to make the transition from drummer in the back to singer in the front. Was it writing music, writing the lyrics?
It was, I think for me, it was, I had gotten to a point in my life where I had played with so many bands as a drummer, and there was so many times that we were so close, and I actually did sign a record deal with a band called Strip Mine on Warner Brothers, and we're a punk metal band and whatever. And after that,
Whatever.
kind of self-destructed, I got real depressed, and I was done. I'm like, that's it. I'm 25 years old. I felt like all my friends were they had jobs and cars, and I was sleeping on my sister's couch, and my girlfriend threw me out, and that whole thing, and it was a mess for me. So I actually quit at one point. I was like, I'm done. I stopped for like a year. I went and got a job and all that crap. And then it came back and it bit me. And when it bit me, it was like, man, I can't get rid of this. It's in my blood. It's in my soul. I have to do this. But I didn't want to just join another band. I wanted to kind of take it under control because I felt like I could do it just as good as some of the leaders that I followed in some of my bands. And so I just started by, a friend of mine showed me some chords on a guitar, and I was playing with that quite a bit, and I was writing lyrics, and I started to write my own songs, basically. And when I did that, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put something together and make it fun so I don't stress myself out. And I took the pressure off myself that way. And I went into it, and I was just like, I'm just going to do some recording, and I brought some guys together, and then lo and behold, if someone would have told me I spent 25 years of my life mastering drums to turn around and grab a microphone and be a singer for a band, I would have thought they were crazy. I would have never thought it could have happened, but I tried it, and I was horrible, and I kept practicing. I'll tell you this. You want to hear a funny story? The first time I went into the studio to record our first demo, first Godsmack demo, we were called The Scam at the time, and I cut the drum tracks, everyone did their thing, and then I got in the vocal booth because we were just a three-piece at the time, and I started to sing, and my bass player looked at me and he went, and walked out of the studio and left. And I was like, whoa, dude, what the I'll get it. Like, give me a second, you know what I mean? And he just left. He was like...
confidence builder he was.
Yeah. And I really was, but, again, it was
He
just
really wanted to front the band, right? He wanted to take over.
So I think it was just a matter of... I like to be creative, and for me, it was about just trying something new. I love a challenge. I'm the type of guy that, I'll grab a bull by the horns and ride it to the end. And for me, I wanted to do something that I hadn't done yet, and I wanted to do it really good. And it was... I love learning. It's part of, I think, why we're all here, is to learn as much as we can and be as good as we can at what we do. So, yeah.
That's an awesome, but from it obviously came great music, and I just wanted to add this, going back way back to the other question. a little while ago too, when you were saying about being in a band and talking about continuing on. Not only is it the best advice, but even if you just end up playing for fun in a cover band and doing stuff, music gets me through a lot of stuff. When I wrote Something to Believe in, I lost one of my best friends. It had died, and that song got me through a moment in my life I'm not sure I would have handled. When it got me through. If I would have done that, just even if I sat in my room and no one would have heard it, it would have helped me out. So.
And can I say just this too? He hit on something that I think is so important, and I can guarantee you any one of us or any musician that does this for a living will back this, that when you write, there's so many people that I don't think get the advice of like how they're going to approach their lyrics and how they're going to approach the emotion in the song, but I will tell you that stay true to what moves you when you write lyrics. Write about your life, write about the experiences that you deal with, and it's almost therapeutic. It's helped me as well through some amazingly hard times in my life that, that it started to, I felt like I was able to release the demons. It really becomes a form of therapy. So don't feel like you approach lyrics as well with storylines and, it's not, this isn't Stephen King. It's like, this is about your life, your experiences, how you feel, how you process those emotions. And I think that stuff comes out the truest. That stuff comes out the most sincere in a lyricist or in a song. And maybe that's why you feel songs that, Bret or Scott or some of us may have written in the past. Some people will take that and apply it to their own life situations, and it gets you through a bad time, and it's because it's true to someone's heart.
That's great. That's great.
You know what's
I
it's
just wanted to
interesting that
say
you guys.
and
Sorry.
one thing to finish on that, and Scott, I hope I didn't cut you off.
And then we got one more thing to say.
And then I got one more thing to say.
Listen to me.
When I was 3,
Can I just interject?
Can I talk?
when I was 3 years old, all right, no. The one thing I was going to say too is, and it's the weirdest thing to say, it's tough. It's tougher to write a fun song any day of the week. It's tougher for us doing a nothing but a good time, because when you're having a good time, there's no direct emotion. It's just I'm partying or I want to get laid or what. I mean, that's a direct emotion, but not a direct emotion when you're writing it, right? It's saddest thing to say is when you have something really severely bad happen in your life, the traumatic, those lyrics pour, like they're direct and they pour, and I need to write them at that. Going back to the micro cassette, and I'll shut up now and let Scott talk.
No, I agree.
One more
it's
question. We got
disaster makes me
one right here.
Thanks. Brett, you talked about Rock of Love. Certainly that's like a playoff of Flavor of Love.
Correct.
And last night someone asked a question about the way that hip-hop or rap has become so much more mainstream, or seems to be such a groundswell in pop music. And I would ask Scott, like, can you talk about experience you had with Public Enemy and how you found that? I know certainly it's interesting to me. I
Yeah, me
have
too.
Bring
It's
the
actually a
noise
good
on my iPod.
Like just the overall experience, you mean?
How do you see, is there sort of an integration between,
I grew up in Queens, and I got into hip hop at a really, way in the beginning. I mean, early on. Just even from like in the late 70s and going to house parties and people playing that kind of music. And it wasn't called, I didn't know it as rap or hip hop then. I just thought it was disco still. But I just got into the beats and the grooves, from the time I was 14 or 15 years old. So once Run DMC came around, like in the early 80s, and they're from Hollis, and that was just a couple of miles from my house. So it was kind of, I had the same, like, feeling as I did about the Ramones, because I always looked up to the Ramones quite a bit because they lived right near where I lived. And I figured, well, those guys can do it. I remember seeing them on the Sha Na Na. I'm showing my age now, but I remember seeing them on the Sha Na Na TV show when I was a kid. And then I found out, well, these guys all live in Forest Hills and they're on television. And, I was like, I connected with that because they looked like me. They had a leather jacket and Levi's. And, Kiss was from where I lived too, but that was a whole nother story. It was larger than life. Like, I never thought I could be that. But the Ramones, I felt I could do that, And it was the same with rap at an early age. It was just in my neighborhood, so it became a part of me. And I just became a fan early on. And a lot of my friends worked at Def Jam from the start. And that's how the whole connection happened. And that's how I met Chuck before their first record even came out, just hanging out at their offices. And as soon as I heard Public Enemy, I could tell this was something. In the same way Anthrax was different than the metal that came before it, or bands like Metallica or Slayer, bands like that. We were different than the bands before us. Public Enemy was night and day, compared to the rap that came before them, and it just made me love them even more. And just I was trying to find a way for years on how the hell can we work together, and somehow we figured it out.
Yeah.
All right, let's give these guys a hand.
Yeah, you know what? You guys are so
Appreciate
inspirational.
you guys coming out
And
and sharing all your
I think
soulful.
I think a lot of the stuff that they
insight.
talked about didn't just apply to music; it applies to life in general.
Absolutely.
So thank
Absolutely
you for
does.
that so much, you guys.
So thanks, guys,
Hey,
again.
thank you all for having us. This has been awesome.
right, you
Nice
guys.
meeting you.